Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Mark Motsenbocker, fractional human resources operations and grocery industry consultant. He experienced executive interim manager and bridges leadership gaps during recruitment phases, adjunct faculty member, so many things. And we'll learn from Mark about how simple acts of generosity can inspire transformation, connection, and renewed purpose in our daily lives, and how we can give without burnout and uplift ourselves and others along the way. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm so pleased. I appreciate the opportunity.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Mark. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about the power of giving daily that you talk about. We'll talk about all this. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, your story, Mark, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yeah, so when I was 8 years old, 3 days after Christmas, December 28, 1964, my parents left the home about 5:30 to go to a dinner. And about 15 minutes later, they were both killed tragically in a car accident. And that was a difficult time for me, obviously, difficult for quite a while before I began to understand how life works. 8 years old, you lose the two most important people in your life. It's hard to explain. But through that, I came, my grandmother came and raised me, my mother's mom. There were 5 kids left from my parents' family. So I had a brother 18, a brother 16, a brother 13. I was 8 and I had a sister 3. And she was widowed and began to raise us. And early on, to be honest with you, there was a little bit of a void for me without a father. I didn't have a grandfather, so I really started searching and looking. And the book that I've now written is the culmination of 26 individuals who, across the span of my life, have had a huge impact on me. And it's all through giving. It's giving of their time, giving of their energy, giving of their emotions at times. And I find that whatever stage of life you're in, you need to consider the profound legacy you can build simply by giving your inherent gifts and talents. Because I believe each one of us really has an undeniable capacity to make a lasting difference in and through our giving to others. Tony Dungy, the Major Football League coach, said, "Fatherlessness is a silent epidemic. It doesn't leave children without a dad. It leaves them without a part of themselves." And Pope John the 23rd said, "It's easier for a father to have children than for children to have a real father." And so there is, in my life, there has been a number of people walk in and out of my life who maybe lost their parents or lost their father, and they're trying to live through that whole incident of figuring out, so what is life like now without this guiding force, this intimate person who can invest in you and share with you. And there are friends of mine that have had fathers, but there's no connectivity. There's been no connection in that. It's been a tough road for them. So I do believe that there's this great void in us that we need. Now, in my book, I talk about how does that work for us as human beings. So I use the analogy of the universe and the earth as being the primary role model for us to be givers, right? So you look at our world, all the plants, all the vegetation plants, the fruits and vegetables, they don't consume any of their produce. The rivers and lakes and the snow, they don't consume the water that they produce. The sun and the moon, they provide light to us, but they don't consume any of that. Our whole world, everything in it is a giving entity. It provides for our needs, to be quite honest with you. And what better thing for us to know and emulate than the opportunity to do that again throughout our life? we have a responsibility for this earth. And by giving to it and giving to others, I believe we really venture into a wholeness about ourselves that wouldn't happen if we didn't take that and do that, right? So now the difference between us and everything else in the universe is we get a choice. And to me, that's a critical component, because we get the chance to choose well by living through giving, right? And I think that's an important piece. I mean, what I regret most in my life really have been the missed opportunities of giving, because I think that's absolutely a critical piece. I live kind of from the mentality of death left a heartache that no one can heal, but giving leaves memories that no one can steal. And so that's kind of the premise of this whole thing. I think it's pretty profound. Most of my life now, I've lived by the mantra, doing for others what no one else is willing to do, right? And I believe when you do that, when you give to people what they need and nobody else does that, that is a special moment in every relationship, because they can't find another you. They can look and they can entertain and they can interact with a lot of other people. So I think the premise of giving is really, it's very, very profound. And I think everybody needs to understand that and begin to pursue that.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mark. Now, my question is that why only Mark understands it, or a few others? Why not everyone? Where is the problem? Especially those who have got so much that it is more for them, more than 100 lifetimes. Why?
So I do believe others have it. It's not that I'm saying no one has it, but I don't believe everybody does that, right? It's not it. They don't look for the opportunities to do that. So my book is 26 different individuals who affected my life over time. They've been neighbors, they've been school teachers, they've been bosses at work, they've been people that I've met socially. But these are people that saw a need. So I give you a prime example. I was a skinny kid, skinny, like skin bone skinny. Junior high, I got picked to be on teams for junior high, but I never got to play because I had no talent, I had no skill, I had no muscle, I had nothing, right? My second year of junior high, the coach came out to me one day and he says, "Mark, I got something for you." And he says, "Let me get the game set up and we'll go out in the field." We go out in the field. Long story short, he brings out some golf clubs. He throws about 12 balls on the ground. He shows me how to hit a ball. And he says, "You stay out here and practice. I want to see how good you can get." That changed my life, because for the first time in my life, I felt like I had some skill. At the end of that school year, he gave me a set of clubs. He went over and set me up with a golf course and said, "You go here. They'll help you. They'll take care of you. You do things here." That whole thing was a gift that nobody else had thought of giving me at that point in time in my life. And it was the kindest act that I had probably really enjoyed, purely because he gave me affirmation that I could compete in sports if I wanted to, but I had to kind of find the right sport for me, right? So I think there's a lot of people that possess this. The question I have in the book is, will you be a giver or will you be a receiver? Both are important, because if you see the opportunity that a giver walks into your life, then you can possess that if you want to do that, right? It takes some time and interest and energy on your part to build that relationship and that support. But I think people have some idea of giving. I do think the earth is basically full of good people, but I don't think people think enough about giving. And really that's that whole choice piece I talked about, right? Nothing else in the universe can choose, right? The sun can't say, "I'm burned out, I'm being hot, I want to chill now." Can't do that, right? Nothing in the, you plant an apple tree, it grows apples, right? It can't say, "Give me an orange out there. Come on, I want a pear." It can't do that. It does what it does for the good of humanity, for the world, but we get to choose. And so it's that choice that we make every day of living to giving. I think that's really an important piece. I think it's, but it's a mindset. I think often about the quote from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "What are you afraid of losing when nothing in the world actually belongs to you?" I think sometimes we get caught up with this fact that there's this opportunity, and we're losing something by doing that for somebody else. But the fact of the matter is, we're really not losing anything. We own everything, and we make the choices.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even in Bhagavad Gita, it's rare, Lord Krishna said that, that whatever, nothing belongs to you. Whatever you have taken from here. Whatever you are giving it from here. You will not take anything. Something like that. In Hindi it was, but, slight bit of meaning. But the whole, meaning is the same. So let's understand through you, Mark, is that what is the best way to give and take? Because we are all takers from the universe, from everything around you. So not everyone is a giver, but all of that is no, debate that we are all takers. So what is the best way to give and what is the best way to take?
So I think from a giving perspective, I think the biggest value is really, I'll give you what I think, okay? Everything I do is with the intent and purpose of making a difference through habitual giving. And in my life, I found out that habit is the most important thing we do in life, because we are what we repeatedly do. So excellence is not an action, it's a habit, right? It's what allows us to become something great. So it needs to become our habit to be a giver. That's where we really seize the opportunity, because and I say all this because habits grow habits, right? If I work out regularly, right? And after a while, I was working out regularly. Then I started thinking more about my diet. Then I started thinking more about my sleep. Then I started thinking more about the choices I was making. And so habits breed habits. But I do think you have to have a mindset that says, I want to be a giver. That's for sure. The other side, the takers, as you say, or the receivers, that has to be a person who has a habit of looking for the opportunity to be able to glean something from somebody. It's not just a transaction that I do when I interact with people. It's an opportunity to build a relationship. And in that relationship, then there is some give and take, right? I do things for you. You do things for me. You have certain friends that you can call on no matter what time of day, no matter what hour, because that's the relationship you formulated and built. So I do think it's the habit of being a giver. And I think that's absolutely critical in being able to be successful in doing that well. You have to have a kind of mindset, right? I work from a premise that life is neither good or bad, but thinking makes it so, right? It's all right here. Whether I want it to be a good day or whether I want it to be a bad day, I choose that. That's my choice every day. So with that mindset, then I can say, here's my habit. And then when I see the opportunity, and I'll give you one prime example of how this works. I'm about 22 years old. I live, and I'm going to go buy something. And I get on the road and I start down the road. And as I look to the right, there's an old lady standing by a car with a flat tire. And I immediately thought of my grandmother, to be honest with you, that, oh, Jesus, my grandma was stuck there. So I pulled over. I got out of my car. I said, can I help you? She goes, well, could you? I said, well, it seems like you got a flat tire and I think I can change it. I think I'm able to do that. She goes, oh, that would be wonderful. Long story short, I'm fixing her tire and she's asking me questions about, now, where did you grow up and where did you live? And I'm telling her my story and where I lived and where I grew up. And then all of a sudden she looked at me and she said, you're not one of the Motsenbocker boys, are you? And I about fell over. I'm standing there changing her tire. I'm going, how would she know my name, right? And I turned around and I looked at her and I said, I am. I'm the youngest boy. She goes, I've been praying for you and your brothers and sisters since the day your parents were killed. Now, I can't explain all that to you, to be honest with you. I can't but it all started by my desire to give, right? Just to take care of her. And then she wanted to give me $5 when I was done. And I kept saying, no, just keep praying for me, right? All right, $5. I don't need. We went back and forth with that $5, I ended up giving it back to her and she was not happy, but I said, I'm not going to take that. But that, that's kind of the point, right? I saw an opportunity. I could have driven right by and just said, wow, boy, that's sad. Too bad. Whew. So I am a giver by virtue of who I am. My kids will tell you that. My grandkids will tell you that. My friends will tell you that, because I make that a part of who I am and what I do.
Absolutely. What happens when taking becomes a business? Nowadays, so many organizations have come up. Online, you see people asking for help, a lot of dubious people asking for help when they don't. Organizations have come up who take commissions out of that. If it is within the realm of, right, then it is understandable. People ask for donations for a particular purpose. That purpose is fulfilled. Say, if you want to raise $100,000, $100,000, and but you continue to take it because people keep on giving. You don't close it. Many people don't close it. $100,000 becomes $200,000, and $200,000 becomes 3,000. People keep on. Then nobody. Very rarely I've seen that. Okay, my job is done. Thank you very much. This is the way I am going forward. What do you do when it all becomes business? A lot of non-profits in the name of non-profits are there, but their own salaries and everything. I don't say some of them are very good, but that is where I am asking, and that is where your giving has to become much more informed. Otherwise, you shouldn't feel your giving means you are getting duped. And even in our personal life, that is this whole word that has come up, self-care, because you can't keep on giving, and others keep on taking draining you all of your energy. So you see, even in terms of your efforts as an individual, in terms of your feelings, and even in terms of your money, there are so many takers all around. It is you got to be very careful, very smart to understand who actually needs to take, and rather than your habit of just pulling it away from. Have you dealt about that? Have you ever dealt with these situations that you had to pull back, Mark?
So I maybe pull back's not the right way to say it for me, but I am prudent about what I do. Right? I think before I do, and I want what I want when I help, when I give, I want there to be a better outcome. Right? My role in any job I've ever had is to make it better before I leave, whatever that is. It could be a lot of different things. It could be the dynamics. It could be the structure. It could be what we provide to employees. It could be how we operate, how we function. But so I am prudent, and I do think, and in my book I say, these are choices you have to make in life, right? You have to think about, does it make sense to give to this person? Right? You'll have people that will take advantage of you, right? So you have to make a decision in that regard as to whether I'll continue down that path or no, I won't. But I do believe that the good that you do with giving comes back to you. I do. My grandmother used to tell me all the time, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Reap, so, you do good for others. Good will come back to you. But you have to be prudent, and you have to make good decisions, right? You don't, you can't just give everything to everybody, because you can be drained by being a giver, right? I mean, that I get that. I've had to make choices to say, I can't take that extra responsibility on now. I can consider that later, but not now. So I do think there's some prudence, and really, for the receivers, there is the opportunity then for them to kind of think through, what do they give back as a result of that? But the receivers have to be prudent too. I'll give you, for instance, I have a guy that I've become friends with through a social group, and he calls me he knows I'm up early every morning. He called me this morning at 5:00 and just, he just wants to chat. He just wants to ramble. But I feel like I'm trying to help him think through life sometimes, because he's fractured, right? He's missing things, and he has nobody to give him some kind of guidance. So I do that. It's a little bit of an inconvenience, but that's a part of my giving, right? So there's no easy answer to life, right? It's very complex. Life is complex. But I do think if you're prudent, to your point, I don't give to every organization that asks me to give to them, right? I don't, because I don't. I have choice things. I choose to pick the things I want to give to help support financially. And then I choose the people that I have opportunities to give to. And I think there's a value in that, but I do think it's important to do that with your family. And you know, I know a lot of guys that don't give time to their kids. They don't give time to, they just don't, they, you know, it's all about the career. It's all about this. It's all about that. It's all about this. So, so I do think you have to be prudent about that. And, you know, I've done a lot of research and actually did a big presentation in my last career opportunity on wisdom. So I looked at wisdom across all societies. India's had great wise counsel. The Far East has had great wise counsel. South America, Africa, you can walk anywhere in the globe and people have had wise people. So I do think that there's a piece of life that says you need to be wise, right? You need, and that's through really knowledge and understanding and then making prudent decisions. So hopefully that answered it okay.
It does. It does. I'm trying to, you know, calibrate it with the modern times. You see, even
Right.
if governments say or parents say, don't talk to strangers, and then how will you let anyone stranger come? Because the stranger might come with a gun. You
Right.
either get robbed or you get killed. On
Right.
the road, if you are going and it's evening or late in the evening, even if there is a problem, the robbers are acting. You will try to help, you'll get robbed or you will get killed
Yeah.
of everything. And so the general advice is don't go out. Amidst all these things,
Sure.
it is very difficult to calibrate how to give, what to give. Should we have expectations to take of any receiving after giving? Would you know whether that person is not robbing you this way? Scamsters are robbing you online through, you know, showing their weak, as if they are the most in distress, you know. So I'm just trying to understand what is the right kind of message, how people can, you know, actually give without feeling, without feeling that they have been robbed, that
Yeah.
it has actually been giving and it's not making somebody, you know, sit in their armchairs, enjoy your hard-earned money, feeling that they have done a great thing for the day. So that is the thing I was thinking about. Your last take on this particular thing, Mark.
Yeah. For me, the premise of the book is about interaction with the people that I know. Right. I didn't go out and I wasn't searching for, I never got any legal counsel when my parents were killed. No psychologist sat down with us. No doctor sat down and said, hey, you know, this is going to be a tough road. You need to think about this. You need to think about that. We need to make sure you get somebody to talk to periodically. I mean, we just kind of figured it out. And I can tell you, in all honesty, I really thought on my 13th birthday, my grandma, that's the only birthday party I ever got as a child. I really thought my parents were going to be there. I actually thought they would show up. I thought this has been a bad dream and it's got to end now. This has got to, and you know, they didn't show up. And so, you know, so this is really about the relationships or the interaction that you have with people that life brings into your world. And so, like I said, they were neighbors, they were academics, they were teachers, coaches, they were bosses at work. They were other people that I worked with that had influence on me, college professors. And there's even one in there that's a lawyer. He's just outside counsel for me, but we've become very, very good friends. And he's a brilliant man who I have the utmost esteem for. So I think it's in that realm of your interaction, whether it's work, social, academics. Those are the people that will walk into your life and see a need. And I do think you present the need sometimes. You show insecurity and people see that and say, let me help you with that, right? It's, you have this skill and you have that skill and you have this ability. And so I think a lot of it is really that. I think it's good to give to people. I'm not saying to not help people. For instance, the lady with the flat tire, I didn't know her. She wasn't, but that was a good thing to do for anybody, right? Anybody that was stuck on the freeway who's got, problems. Take the time to pull over and see if you can help them, right? So I think that's kind of the premise of how it works. These are people that you are familiar with, that you associate with, I think that you trust, obviously. And through that, then you get a benefit of their insight, their time, their energy. In some instances, they've been emotional support for me, and helped me through thinking some of the things that I've been through. So I think that's the genre of where this book spills out. But I talked a little bit about, I give to certain organizations, but I don't give to everybody. And you're right. I get junk mail every day. Somebody wants something for something, right? But I choose wisely about where I'm going to spend my money, but mostly where I'm going to spend my time and energy and support.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we got to give wisely, and we have got to receive wholeheartedly with a lot of, that spirit of carrying it forward. Otherwise, then it's all a waste of everything that the person who is trying. Be that the world is a difficult place, different place than it was many years back, but be that as it may, everyone will have to find their vision of giving, understanding of giving in their own. So for in your case, Master, so there's so much to learn from you, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to know more about you from your book. What's the best way for them to do so?
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and I say in my book, you get connected to me, I'll respond. But I also have a website. It's called New Dimensions International. And they can click on the website and see some of the other stuff, but I'll respond to everybody. And on the website, I actually have the opportunity for people to schedule a half hour with me if they just want to talk. I'm available. I want to help people, right? So make the world a better place.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Enjoy your evening.